Yesterday I started my day at 4:30 a.m. in Mobile, Alabama in Central Standard Time. And then I flew in. I went to Texas. I did a presentation at, what's the name of that school now? I don't even remember. Let's see. Weatherford. Earlier fun, but I hope you guys had fun on my behalf. So it's nice to see some familiar faces. Some of you look like you're new. How many of you it's your first time? Or you're just brand new to Phi Theta Kappa? That's great. Come away with us to a camp Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Are you really excited? Yeah! Very cool. So we're going to have fun, I promise. It's not going to be a lot of lecture. I like to talk to people, much like the great and wonderful speaker, Caitlin Moore. Let's give her a round of applause. The really cool thing is that tonight you're going to have lots of fun, and this is going to be painless. Now, I am going to throw out here, of course, that there's no way, let's see, where's mine, that you guys are going to raise enough money.
All within.
Yeah, there's like no way that you're going to raise enough money. I'll put in some money. Tomorrow I'll do it publicly. Because I'm not afraid of a pie, but I don't think you guys can do it. So, nice try. Nice try. I don't think you can do it. I'm just saying, and Kansas thinks they can, so I don't know if you guys can do it. Kansas is talking a little bit slick about you guys. I just want to throw that gauntlet down. All right, so I'm actually not going to talk very much about college fish right now because I have other passions and other things that I like and am passionate about and why I enjoy working with community college students, much like yourselves. And so what I wanted to share with you is something that I hope will inspire you and give you some things to think about in terms of really how you frame yourself as a leader, okay? Every one of you, how many of you are officers in here? All right, so almost everybody, okay? Some of you are not. And for those of you that are officers, sometimes you might not feel or be, you might not be certain of exactly what your role is or how you're a leader. Some days you probably wake up and think, I really don't feel like going to that meeting today and that kind of thing. So all of us have the potential to be leaders. And there are different times where, are you smiling over there? Do you feel that way sometimes? Yeah, we all do, right? So there are certain days when we feel like we can give 110%, and then other days we're not so sure. We might lose sight of that, that vision or that mission that really inspired us in the first place. And when Caitlin talked about Phi Theta Kappa and how we are really working to celebrate the scholar and support you guys all the way through to success, we all need to take time to reflect on what inspired you to get involved in the first place, and then also how you can really make your leadership journey your own, okay? How you can create your legacy and leave it behind for others to inspire them, but also for you to have that pride and that foundation in the time that you spent with your region, with your chapter, on your community college campus, and then even part of the greater global community that you're a part of, okay? And this is just one of many accomplishments and achievements that I know are there for you guys. I know that each and every one of you in this room, you'll always be a Phi Theta Kappa member, whether you join the Alumni Society or not. You'll always have this experience. But I know that this is just one of many accolades that you're going to achieve, so keep that in mind. But what I'm going to talk to you about, and I framed it actually with a couple of things. So you guys are all going to be talking about and focused on your honors and action projects and that kind of thing. Are you pretty excited? Are you pretty excited about that? Do you just love doing research and extra projects outside of class? I know you do. And I know sometimes, again, it can be a little tough and something doesn't seem like everybody's doing their thing and you're starting to lose faith and lose hope. But of course, what we're going to talk about today is a way to overcome that. I saw that look over there. I'm just kidding. They're just smiling and like giving each other high fives. We're going to do a group hug after this. But anyway, so that's really what I wanted to talk to you about. As well, how many of you are focused on or hosting a C4 community college completion event on your campus? Awesome. And some of you may have already. So we're going to talk about, because a lot of times, I know we're all excited about all the different programs that Phi Theta Kappa offers, but sometimes that can even be a little bit overwhelming, right? Like, how do I make that meaningful? How do I really, take some ownership and get involved with that? So that's what I really want to talk to you about today, is a leadership model that can help you think about ways to think about how you can support these different things that are important to you, that you believe that you stand for, okay? One other thing I'm going to mention to you, I have absolutely no problem with people texting or multitasking. I know you guys are geniuses in this room, and so if you want to multitask, I think it's going to keep your brain moving in lots of different directions. You're going to understand me even better. So don't feel sheepish about it, but hopefully you'll leave with a couple of things that I've said, okay? Any questions? All right, so has anyone ever heard of Kouzes and Posner?
Yeah.
Other than one of the, okay, all right. So Kouzes and Posner, I like to call, they're kind of like rock stars in the world of leadership, okay? So if you ever go to graduate school and you focus on leadership, especially like higher ed, there's a lot of leadership classes and that kind of thing. But they put together five basic principles of leadership. And so they're very specific practices that you can employ as leaders. And the first is model the way. The second is inspire a shared vision. The third is challenge the process, enable others to act, and then finally encourage the heart. So we're going to look at each of those five practices and then talk about how you can, think about that particular practice, and you're probably already doing some of these things. All right, so model the way. Each of you stand for something, and you belong, even better than that, you belong to, as Caitlin said, the largest honor society in the world. So you're part of an even greater community that stands for shared values, shared principles, and really honorable and admirable things that really, and I find it every day when I go on campuses and I meet with students. I know Donnie does, and I know Caitlin does. People who will tell you things like Phi Theta Kappa changed my life, which is pretty cool, right? I was just at Mesa Community College where they chartered an alumni association, and they had this really cool board where people could put up, they could fill out, I love Phi Theta Kappa because, and I got chill bumps, I have to be honest, but I'm kind of a sap that way. I teared up a little bit. But there was, of like the 15 that were put up there were like 3 or 4 people who said it changed my life, or it gave me a family. And there's people who will tell you their stories, and it really, it's an opportunity. So model the way, the standards of excellence, all right? I apologize, there's some other things that we're supposed to be working on, Cascade, but so what are the standards of excellence for your chapter? Okay, what are the things that from Phi Theta Kappa's mission speak to what have you all had sort of, your officer retreats, and you've talked about your goals, and you've talked about the things that are really important to you, right? So you've got those standards of excellence, and hopefully you've communicated to each other what is acceptable, right? What's the minimum, or the things that you all together are working toward, okay? So you have that level of respect, and you can work together, collaborate, and really, again, if Caitlin knows what I expect of her and I know what she expects of me, and we have that shared communication, and everything, the standards are set, that's really an opportunity for people to succeed because they're fully aware of what the expectations are, okay? So modeling the way is about not just the words, not just having the title, but actually if I were to see you somewhere, if I saw Jenny or Vicky and I didn't know anything else about them, from their actions and the way they behave around campus and the way they behave tonight, I would say, wow, that's a really special person. I bet she's a leader. I bet she's involved or she's engaged on campus, okay? So that's what I challenge you all to do. Don't worry about your title, okay? Don't worry about wearing a big badge, and of course you should do that and do it with pride and wear your medals and that kind of thing. But you should also aspire that people who see you when you walk into a room know, simply from your behavior, from the way that you treat people, from the way that you approach problems, from your willingness to get engaged, get involved, and to make a difference. All right, so that's your challenge, is to model the way. So how do you treat people, and then what opportunities are there? Okay? Inspire a shared vision. Now, we know about all the principles of Phi Theta Kappa and the mission statement and the hallmarks of Phi Theta Kappa. Okay, but again, those are just words until we ascribe what they mean to us. All right? So you all joined Phi Theta Kappa for probably a lot of different reasons, but above and beyond that, you didn't just join. You didn't just write a check and fill out an application and then never do anything else with it except put it on your transfer application, right? You actually chose to step up, start coming to meetings, and then it's like 99% of you in this room stepped up even further, and joined and became leaders. So when you've done that, the next step is, why are you leading and where are you leading? Okay, and so that's something that you as an individual need to think about first. What do you stand for? Okay, and then collaborate with your group. And do that continually, because some of the things that are priorities to you may change. But hopefully you've set standards of excellence, you've set goals and objectives as a chapter, and then you're also looking at the various awards that you can win through Phi Theta Kappa. So those are, some of the things to start thinking about, all right? So, not just why, but also why not? Why not try something new? Not just because the officers before us did this, or because Phi Theta Kappa says it's a great idea. Why is this important to our campus, okay? So, and that's where when you engage with your faculty and administration, and they talk to you about how, they have to report to the federal government in terms of completion rates, right? And in terms of Title IV repayment, which means how many students are actually completing and then paying back any loans that they took. Your institution is graded on that in a number of different ways, all right? Those are performance metrics. Those are things that are really, really important. And so while those are the things that Phi Theta Kappa is working toward, we're not the only ones, right? It's part of a global movement. The President of the United States has goals for increasing the number of graduates. The Lumina Foundation. So again, it's a collective movement. You're part of a movement, all right, that's bigger than you, which is pretty exciting. But you have to parcel down and figure out what that movement means in your own world, and then how you can make a difference. So when you're inspiring a shared vision, you can't just say the words that you're, so for example, if we're focusing on completion for a minute, you can't just say the words that you're interested in helping students complete. You need to figure out what that means to your campus, what that means to you, and then you also need to explore why students aren't finishing, right? You need to get really, a handle on and understand the situation. Because hopefully, and are engaged and committed to yourself. You've taken the pledge, you've got your bracelet, but you're committed to completing. But there are other students out there who are struggling, or who are considering stopping out, or who have stopped out. What are the reasons that they've done that? And then how can you explore, research, those kinds of things? And then also for your Honors in Action project, and things like that, again, how can you take it from just a concept and collectively inspire that vision about what you want to do with that project to make it your own and to make it distinctive about your chapter and what you guys believe in, okay? So those are some, in terms of inspire shared vision, it really gives you the concrete, where you've got the abstract, right, with this great, cool idea that's kind of up in the sky. Inspiring a shared vision is an opportunity for you guys to put it all together and define it and wrap it with a pretty little bow, so that you have these basic principles that everybody understands. And that's why sometimes, it's important. I use the story sometimes of a colleague of mine, one of the most positive people in the world I'd ever met, and she's the director of financial aid, right? Which that doesn't always go hand in hand, but we absolutely love our financial aid personnel. They have a thankless job sometimes, and they do something that's absolutely critical to all of our successes. But anyway, so Carrie was one of the most vivacious people I've ever met. And she said she would always brag about her daughter, who was, I think at the time, maybe 26. And so her daughter was a real estate agent. And she wrote in lipstick on her mirror that she wanted to be $1 million producer. And she saw that every day. Okay, that was her vision. And so she continued to keep herself in contact with that vision and to remind herself of that vision. Okay? She became $1 million producer by the age of 28, which is pretty impressive. All right, obviously it wasn't just getting up every morning and seeing that in the mirror. That was part of it, that affirmation. So what are some things that you all can do to continue to remind yourselves of what pulled you together in the first place, of what motivated and inspired you? Because there are little points throughout the year and throughout the different projects that you're doing where you'll need that. You'll need to step back and really reacquaint yourself, and in some cases redefine what that vision is. And that's okay. That's all part of growth. That's all normal parts of leadership, because you're continually evolving. And those are the best kinds of leaders. You don't ever want to be static. You want to be dynamic. You want to be responsive and proactive and not reactive. Okay? All right, so challenge the process. No, this does not mean that Ms. Blaylock told you that you could go sit outside of your president's office and say, heck no, we will not go until you bring Subway to our campus. No, all right? Challenge the process. There are positive ways to do this, even for things that work, all right? And that, again, is what separates somebody who just shows up and somebody who's a leader. A leader is constantly thinking of ways to refine and enhance and improve and make things better. And that's one of, I'm sure for many of you, that's why you got involved. Are any of you in student government on your campuses? Or thinking about it, right? You're going to a meeting, or you got tipped off or signed something, right? Okay. All of it, that's great. neat. That's great, because I encourage all of you to engage with and to be voices and advocates, because again, C4, and Caitlin talked to you about this, is not just about you. It's not just about Phi Theta Kappa. You can't do it alone, all right? So engaging and inspiring and communicating that shared vision that you've hopefully communicated and partnered and collaborated with your administration, with other student leaders, who then you can get them to have buy-in and be supportive of what you're doing. And 9 times out of 10, student government has some monetary or financial power or access. So when you have those kinds of advocates, that can help supplement some of the things that you're trying to do. All right? So challenge the process. What does that mean? That means that you aren't, again, just doing things just because that's the way they've always been done, but you are asking questions. Okay? You are assessing what's been done before, and then thinking about how you can build on that, and again, make it your own. And sometimes that means you're going to move in an entirely different direction, and that's okay. But you also have to keep in mind that the number of changes you make that often needs a lot more work, building that level of support from everybody, etc. So you want to balance that out when you're challenging the process. And again, you want to be collaborative about it. You have to pick and choose your battles. You have to pick and choose what you're going to champion, and the things that are most important to you. So for and I've always been a big proponent of this, for every, I hate to say problem, but for every challenge or issue that you find and that you're going to take the responsibility of bringing forward or addressing to your chapter or your campus, I also challenge you to bring with that some solutions, okay? To do your research, to do your homework, to talk to your constituents, right? To talk to your fellow students and collaborate with them and find out what are some things that we can be doing to use our resources here on campus or our resources here as part of a larger chapter within our region, those kinds of things. Look around you. There's a lot of great things going on, and you're doing a lot of great things. So share that with others, but challenge the process is really about seeing what's being done, making sure it's the most efficient, effective use of your resources. And that's another a big thing here too, is you need to look at your officer team, and each of you need to be honest and assess what your talents, strengths, and interests are, and what you're passionate about, okay? And there's lots of opportunities, but you've got to meet people where they are. And I think that there are ways to bring people in sometimes when they're losing sight of what their role is. So that's really your challenge, constantly helping each other, but also helping yourself understand where you are. So that's where challenge the process comes in. And that also means collaborating and working with each other. Fell asleep on me?
That's still working.
There we go, okay. Enable others to act. All right, so a lot of times, we think that leadership is all about us individually. Obviously, we know we're going to have an impact on others, but they're going to learn from us, right? We're going to show them how to do it. And obviously, there's the opportunity for some of that. However, a good leader doesn't always have to be in charge. And that's a big learning process for everybody, okay? We all have to learn that and appreciate that. We all have to know and be mature and humble enough sometimes to step back and say, you know what? Your idea just might be the right way, or this might be an opportunity for you to step up and shine, okay? So fostering collaboration and strengthening others. It's the concept, too, of if we all, if one person fails, we all fail, all right? And it's also putting failure in perspective. All right? Just because something didn't work out exactly the way that we thought it would, what were some of the triumphs or the things that we did accomplish? And then what can we learn from that? All right? And it isn't just one person's fault. Don't, really try to separate yourself from getting into those situations where it's finger pointing, those kinds of things. Make each experience a learning process, and find ways to build each other up so that people don't feel like they're going to be judged, that they're not in a community that embraces their opportunity to speak, to offer, to contribute, okay? So delegate. And then I would also say, well, you're celebrating strengths because you've gotten to know each other and you know sort of where you are, what your talents are. For those of you that have weaknesses or areas that you could benefit from some growth in, be willing to step outside of the box, all right? How many of you love speaking in public? Right, and I would expect, but I not put their hand up. All right? Speaking in public as a leader or in any professional position you have is critical. So it doesn't have to necessarily be something you love, but I feel very confident and strongly that everybody should have the opportunity to do it. They can be scared and they're wiggling and they're shaking, and that's okay, because then the next time they do it and the next time they do it, they'll be okay, right? So what are some things that you know that all leaders need to do? Think about that. Try to find ways to help people in areas that they're not so strong in, and try to be constructive about it. So if you're having issues where people aren't being as accountable as they should, or perhaps their attendance and participation is waning, they're not turning things in on time, they're not submitting their research on time, those kinds of things, think about how you can make that, you're modeling the way yourself. You've got to be reflective and say, am I doing my part too? Right? And sometimes that can be a tough thing to do as well, because we all have room to grow and to improve. But what are some constructive ways that you can remind people of what those standards of excellence, when you model the way and you work together and you inspired that shared vision and you talked about what your chapter stands for and you talked about what you stand for as a leader, what are some ways to bring that back home and remind people these are some areas that you can work on, and I know you can do this. I know you can do this. I know that you can reach that potential that we've talked about before, okay? But that also means giving them the chance. And you have to really consider that as well. Are you giving them the tools they need to be successful? And is there anything else you can do? And of course, there will be times that you're doing all of those things, right? So again, think outside of the box, collaborate, work with your division and your regional support staff at headquarters, talk to other people in the region, but don't give up hope, all right? Everybody came into this, I've seen a lot of regional teams. One of the most impressive sort of transformations I always love to see when the international officers come into office, and then at the end of the year, how much they changed. Same thing with regional officer teams, and one of the biggest, and you will cry. You will all cry, regional officers.
Yes, you will.
You will absolutely cry, so bring lots of tissues. But one of the biggest transformations and the most emotional group I saw last year was Michigan. And they had some challenges in the beginning. They had some real challenges. And in one of their speeches, actually in multiple speeches, they addressed that. And they talked about the courage that one of the regional officers had to talk to, and have a tough talk, to be honest with you, with one of the regional officers that was that had some challenges, right? And so they could have let that go. They could have had a rough year. They could have continued to try and work around and have negative feelings and not maximize their potential. But they chose to be brave and courageous and handle it in a positive and constructive way. And that regional officer was better for it, and they said so in their speech. And they actually thanked and expressed gratitude. So, think about, instead of letting things fester inside of you, what are some ways that you can communicate it, but in a way where it doesn't feel like you're attacking somebody, right? But rather that you're empowering and building bridges and supporting people, okay? All right, so let's talk a little bit about strengthening others with C4. Does anybody have a C4 project or item that they've done other than a signing that they want to share? Anybody? Nobody? Nobody's done anything other than a signing? Jeff?
We have commitment cards that we made that's perforated, and there's a larger part on top that we had it at signing day, but we actually have people who came by and signed our banner as well. But we're going to be collecting information, and then in about 3 weeks, we're going to email every single person who signed one of our cards and say, hey, how's it going? I know finals or midterms are coming yet. Just keep up the good work and that kind of stuff.
Good. Okay,
So we're reaffirming the commitment.
Reaffirming the commitment, making that contact, keeping it personal. That's great. Caitlin, I'm sorry, someone in the back, and then you. Miss, did you have a comment? Did you have an idea you wanted to share?
Well, I think I'm misunderstanding if we're talking about C4 or college project.
Either one. You can share either one.
So we met with our president of our university and asked her, not university, sorry, our college, and asked her what really was a problem and something that their board had talked about. So we have a new president this year. She's amazing.
Awesome.
And she said that communication on the campus is really a big deal. So we drafted a survey, and we're trying to get it to as many students as possible to ask them if they're well informed or if they feel informed about transfer days, scholarship activities, things like that, and then we can give that to our administration and say, our students aren't informed, or some are informed and some aren't. And we've also drafted it so that it can go through Blackboard, so all of our online students who normally maybe don't come to the campus can also participate in that.
That's great. That's a wonderful idea. And that draws in something too. Somebody can create the survey who doesn't like to speak in public, right? Who doesn't have a lot of time to come to meetings, but maybe can do it from home. So again, there's another opportunity to bring somebody else in. So you all maybe met with the president or the administration, but perhaps you have other officers or chapter members that you can get engaged by delegating and giving them opportunities to step up. Caitlin, did you have an example too? Cool.
This isn't from my chapter. I don't know why they're all being so bashful right now.
I know.
Theta. I raised something really cool. They do a couple things that are really cool.
I raised my hand.
Yeah, when they do something where they have the signing days and they have people sign, and then at graduation, in the little announcement booklet, they have a little C4 symbol by the names of the people that signed that are getting their associate's degree. And then on the back of it, you have an explanation of what C4 is. Is that correct, Jenny? Yeah, so I thought that was really cool. I didn't know we were talking about that.
Keeping the message alive.
Yeah, and then another key thing they do is they go to 4th grade students and have them sign that they're going to go to community college and get their associates, and I think that's so cool. So
Very cool. Did you have one you wanted to
I was just going to say that I did have good reason. Well, because I have been advocating that at the signing days, and then I just heard from our advisor that it's a possibility that it can happen. It's not like that's a for sure thing yet. So we don't know until that part gets secured whether or not it is. So,
But she's
that.
challenging the process, right? And you're sharing and collaborating. So whether or not you're able to achieve it specifically, hopefully you can. But if not, maybe somebody else can do it. And then if they show your president, hey, look how cool this is, or how wonderful people felt getting that designation on the graduation program, even better. So thank you for sharing that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, because we've done it for 2 years, and it's kind of every year, are they going to continue to do it? Are they going to continue to do it? So.
No, that's great that you guys are doing that. And again, hopefully if you're no longer able to continue it, there's another way, right? Or something alternative that you can do to still recognize those students for taking that pledge and then achieving it, right? Because we don't want to just, encourage, and then when they've actually achieved it, not do anything to celebrate that. So obviously, that's a wonderful idea, and I hope you guys are able to continue to do that. Clark College in Vancouver, they actually have a completion fair. And many of you probably have something similar, but that's the term they use to describe it. And it's all of the campus resources. So the learning lab comes out, the tutors come out, that kind of thing. But similar to what Jeff is doing, we're trying something, myself and Sarah Reynolds are working on this, but it's called Transfer Champions, and then we're going to do Completion Champions. But we're sending emails, and then I always love those little accessory cards, but they're even cooler now. There's some all new designs and everything, where they're like a great inspirational picture and then a cool quote. And then we're sending, so the transfer group that we picked are people who have just graduated, and we're Phi Theta Kappa members, so we're a group of about 20 people. Because one of the most vulnerable times for you as a student is in your first semester, right? When you're a community college student. Likewise, when you transfer, it's in that first semester, where you can start to feel kind of alone, lose sight of your, of this is where I need to be, and where do I belong, and all that good stuff. So we want to make sure that they feel the love, that they know people are out there, and that we're supporting them, because a lot of people don't necessarily have their family. I actually saw one of the students, she's on Facebook, and she lives on campus, and I saw her say, I really miss my family, and some things that happened at school and that kind of thing. So I can totally relate to that, and I know a lot of you can too, that again, you can be really, really excited about where you're transferring, or getting into the nursing program, right? And then you get your first clinical exam back. It could be maybe it didn't turn out, maybe it didn't turn out quite as well. So again, encouraging people. But so think about that. Think about some ways that you can strengthen others. And you have those people on your team who are the cheerleaders, who are always excited. They need to be revitalized, they need to be complimented and continue on, but then other people need to step up too. So think about some ways that you can strengthen others around you. What are some simple ways? Maybe you have no budget, right? But you have smiles, you have lots of different things that you can do to emulate and meet students where they are. So, some other things like someone had a program called Stop the Drop. because when you're dropping a lot of classes, that's a big deal too. And that's, you can do a little bit of research. There are some programs that, I know there's one actually where they partnered with some community colleges in Indiana, but also in Washington State, American Honors College. Anybody in here doing that? Okay, yeah, they're mostly in Washington State, sorry, not Oregon, I don't know what state I'm in. Is there anybody here from Utah? Did Utah share?
Utah. They're,
Brandon, where are you?
he's meeting his chapter. They're around here somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Landon's from Utah?
Yeah.
Awesome. Just okay. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, get out there and ask questions and then talk to your administration. The big thing with that is you need faculty too. So, you know, you might want to see if you can get some faculty that are excited about it. Maybe just hold an informational meeting, start throwing some things around, you know. But then there are, so American Honors College, they've done a little bit of partnership with Phi Theta Kappa. And I think they're just called American Honors now because they're kind of like trying to be like Madonna, and eventually they're just going to have another name. But they did used to be American Honors College, but I can get you the contact information too. Anything else that you guys can think of? No one's asleep? That's good. I didn't see like too many people going off, just a few. Yes?
So I have a question. Going back to what you had said about the chapter where the advisor kind of had other things going on, how would you go about talking to them, or if you talk to them, how you would go about further trying to figure out how this is going to work? Like,
Sure.
what kind of things can you do as a chapter
Sure.
if you're all motivated to do something but you don't really feel like you have
This
any
is not
support?
I agree, your advisor. I agree. No, let's get the elephant out of it. Yeah, yeah. That it's a tough one. It's a tough one. So, and Donnie and Caitlin, just jump in anytime. No, but I think that there are ways to respectfully, you know, set goals and talk about your chapter interests and aspirations. And then, you know, if your advisor is not maybe being as supportive or engaged, there are ways to communicate that these things are really, really important to you. And so is there a way that there might be an additional advisor? Or I've seen instances where they will bring in like a faculty volunteer, or someone who does it. It depends. Every school's a little different. Like, I love faculty, this is not, but some schools, faculty have regulations, like if they're union, they can't do too many activities and things like that. So I don't know what your school, how that works, like if your advisor gets release time or compensation, but you might be able to get some other people that were Phi Theta Kappa alum, or would be willing to volunteer, or if there are projects that your advisor isn't really interested in, maybe find a faculty member or somebody on campus respectfully, being open and honest with your advisor that you're interested in, and going to them first and saying, here's kind of what we were thinking, that this professor might be able to work with us and help us do the research and writing some of these certain things. I mean, I don't know, I'm just throwing that.
Yes, sometimes the co-advisor route is definitely a way to go. If you know that there are, that person, the main advisor, has a lot of commitments at this particular point, sometimes offloading some of those tasks. Sometimes a main advisor will take over administrative duties like CAM and setting up the opening the registration periods, enrollment periods for the chapter, and doing some of those things where another co-advisor may help take over the leadership duties and help the chapter take over hallmarks and things like that. So.
And there are ways too, like maybe you can start the conversation as like an appreciation of that advisor. Like, I know you've been an advisor for this many years. Tell us a little bit about why you got involved with Phi Theta Kappa. Why are you still here? I'm just kidding. But, all right, anyone in this room who does not really want to be here, you know, start the conversation. Wow, it's really cool that you're our advisor. Tell us a little bit about how you got involved. You know, and you may hear, you know, it wasn't my choice. I'm stuck doing it. You know, I don't know. There are a lot of different approaches. I've seen where faculty are, you know, jump up to do it, and then there's also sometimes where not so much. Yes.
And that brings up, sorry Jeff, you've
You're
been
fine.
over there for a while. Give me 1 second, brother.
You're fine.
I got you. Stretching. I got you.
Pop my shoulder.
That also brings up a good point with intervention is, you know, focusing on I language. Anytime you deal with conflict, I don't care if you're at chapter level, regional level, any level, with anyone, you want to focus on I language. No one likes hearing, well, you didn't do this, Donnie, and you didn't do this, Donnie. That doesn't work at all. That's never, no one's ever going perception, people are more receptive to hearing that, and that's a healthier way to deal with the conflict as well. And that it can be intimidating sometimes to talk to an advisor, especially if there's frustration or something going on. So really focusing on what you're feeling and how you're perceiving it can also make it a little bit easier to open the communication. And always build people up. There's always something this advisor did that deserves to be praised and deserves to be built up. And that always can help smooth the situation out as well. Jeff?
Call your regional officer team. We would love to help.
Yes.
And don't forget, I live a half an hour from your campus.
Yeah,
I'm not very far away.
That's kind of our next, and that's, yeah, we're gonna have to.
Yeah, you definitely use your resources.
We're trying to talk and get a lot of ideas. There's a lot of things that we're really excited to do and want to do, but we're kind of being shot down.
And it could be
So our
you.
assignment is kind of getting thrown under, and we're kind of losing
You're dampening
sight of
losing
what we want
motivation.
to do because
And it might be you just need an outside voice saying, hey, look, they're motivated to do this.
Right.
As a region, we want to help them do this.
And absolutely,
You
and
know.
sometimes that has come from maybe them being let down by other officer teams or feeling like, wow, I've heard this one before, you know. So again, we don't want them to have that attitude. We want to be proactive about it. So I would definitely be very honest and but respectful. We're really, this means a lot to us. This is why we ran for office. This is why we're engaged with Phi Theta Kappa. So we really need your support, and if you're not willing to support it, what do you suggest? Or can you give us some guidance about why we should, be doing this particular project? Help us.
And make sure they know what you're expecting. It's not fair to expect someone to uphold an expectation you've never voiced or mentioned. So that's really important. I can't assume Donnie will know automatically to go to the store and pick up milk unless I say, Donnie, can you please pick up milk for me? I need some milk. So it's not fair. It's true. It's true. So it's not fair to send her to the store and be mad when she comes back with eggs because I didn't specifically tell her. You know what I mean? I think so much can be said just to, say what you want or what you're expecting. You have to voice those and make sure people are aware of them, like Jennifer did mention earlier.
Yes.
I'm really proud of this chapter. What an inspiration that even without that additional support that they are together and still supporting each other.
We have a really good team, and it's been neat because our team is really, we don't know each other very well, but we all kind of,
You're awesome dance moves, so funny. Yeah. Dance buddy.
Any other thoughts, questions, concerns? Yes, sir.
Where are you trying to go with the cups?
Oh, I was just going to say that I should probably just take this off of there, right? You sure? I don't think you do.
Actually, I did some calculations. I was wrong on my ticket. I actually get 120 tickets, so.
that's what we were talking about.
Yeah, I know. It's been a very long day.
There's one funny, there is a book up there on the table. I was hoping that somebody who knows Isa, who is a BTK member, would plug this book, talk about it a little bit.
Oh, sure. I know Lisa very well. Actually, there's money in there too. Actually, there's two books that I'll plug from Phi Theta Kappa alone. And let me pull. Was anyone else on the phone? Can you look up Diane Melville? I don't remember the name of her book. On Facebook. Maybe look on. Can you look what's your Facebook friend would be? Remember Alphabet? All right. So Isa Adams. Isa is actually a friend of mine. She's also my birthday mate. We are not twins or anything like that. I get that a lot. But and I'm a little bit older than her, quite a bit. But we're both born on April 13th. So that's one of the ways that Isa and I first became engaged. But Isa's an awesome story. She was a student activities advisor for Seminole State College, which is in Florida. And she was, when she started her college journey, or her higher education journey, she was poised to go directly to a four-year college. Her family had some illness, and one of her siblings had some high medical bills, and the family just didn't feel like they could financially support her going to a four-year college university. So she had to register at Seminole State, worst case scenario, like last day of registration, change plans last minute, that kind of thing. Went there, had a great experience, and she also won the Jack Kent Cook Scholarship, which actually we should. You know what? Oh, no one's back there.
I get it.
Do you know the internet code?
No.
It's Mansion 1953. All right, oh, thank you. So anyway, so she won Jack Can't Cook.
No
which
manner.
Changed her life, banner, right, capital M. Changed her life, and we're gonna talk to you, I'll show you a quick video on Jack Can't Cook, actually. So that changed her life. She went on, it actually helped pay for her last 2 years, and then she went to graduate school. She had a vision, all right? She wanted to start her Facebook page, and she started her website first, communitycollegesuccess.com, but this book is all about what the benefits are of attending a community college first, what the great behaviors and practices that you can employ at the community college, like getting involved in an activity, building relationships with your faculty, applying for scholarships, that kind of thing. So it's a great book. Issa will be your friend on Facebook, so I'd encourage you to connect with her or like her page. She now also does some freelance work with Pearson. So she gets to work from home and then go around and speak and inspire students. And she also does some work with Tallahassee Community College. They have a TV station called TCC 22. And she hosts a show for them called The Skinny. And you can go to TCC 22 and look at their videos. So say, for example, you're going to host a completion event after the signing. You could show some of those, have some popcorn, have a discussion, whatever. But she's a great advocate. She always has lots of great, can I do it from up here? Or just pull up Jack Can't Cook. I want to show them that video. But at any rate, so she's a great success story. You can buy her book. You can connect with her online. Issa Adney is her name. All right, Phi Theta Kappa alum. She'll probably be at convention. She was at
jkcf.org.
Good girl. Nice work. All right, so the other person is Diane Melville. Everyone say, ooh. Diane is, you know what, I don't remember how old she is. And we do not share birthday, and she is not my twin. And she's not Issa's twin either. But anyway, let's see. Diane is an entrepreneur, which I think is a really cool thing. I'm going to say she's under 30. I'm pretty sure she's about 26, to be honest with you. She might be younger than that. But so she has a book called The Community College Advantage. And it's about how you can use your community college experience to help leverage and as an asset to get into a highly selective college or university. Okay, so it's a great book, but it's the website or the Facebook page for that is the Community College Advantage book. If you're friends with me, I have both Issa and Diane as my friends, but they're both Phi Theta Kappa alums. And they're pretty fantastic. Actually, another Phi Theta Kappa alum who's done some great things is Tom Kriegelston. Anybody ever been to a workshop that Tom's done? Tom has two things, more than that actually. He has something called Swift Kick and Student Launcher, which are fundraising, like to help you guys raise money. And then he also does Free Hugs Day, which is pretty cool. But he does this thing that I've always been dying for somebody to invite him to one of their regionals. I know he does cost, they all cost money, I think. I don't know if Diane does yet. But it's called Dance Floor Leadership Theory.
Oh my God.
Oh, I
And don't you think that'd be awesome for us, right? So basically what it is like, you know how there are different people on the dance floor, like there's the wallflower, and then there's like the person in the middle of the circle, doing their thing, whatever. So it's all about breaking down those barriers and using dance, and really, so it's pretty cool. And I have to tell you, I was at the Texas, summer conference. Oh, it's Texas Honors Institute over the summer, and my daughter, who is a sophomore, and her buddy came. And there were some people dancing freely, and without a care in the world. And so here are these two 15-year-olds who are so self-conscious, and they looked at me and they were like, I wish I had that confidence, Mom. And it made me sad because they're both beautiful and gorgeous girls, but you know how you are when you're a sophomore in high school. I don't want anybody to see me, and of course, but you do want to be seen, but make fun of you. There's just like so much to balance. It's so hard. But anyway, I would wish for everybody that you all get out on the dance floor and do what you want. But Tom Kriegelston is his name as well. So those are just some Phi Theta Kappa alums, kind of keeping the family. But yeah, I would encourage you to connect with all those people. And you can connect with me on Facebook as well if you have not yet. And of course, you should be connected to your regional officers. I want to commend Jeff. He is really one of the only regional presidents that I know who every day is on there and all about it. So I think it's great that he does that. I remember the day he got elected. I remember him when he was just a small lad.
I
we're so glad to see how far he's come. But no, he has done a great job. As a continue to do so. So you guys, your challenge is going to be that once you leave here this weekend, to continue the momentum, right? And I know for some of you, it's your battle's a little more uphill than others. So whatever I can do to help and advocate for you, I'm happy to do, as well as Donnie and Caitlin and your regional officers. So anyway, so Diane Melville, Community College Advantage, Issa Abney, Community College Success, and then Tom Kriegelston, Swift Kick and Student Launcher. All right, any other questions? This front row is going to have fun. They have to ask me a question, and then I'm turning it back over to Jeff. Oh, no, then we're doing Jeff. Sorry.
Well, I had a question, but you answered it when you were discussing it.
What's your name? I said so bad. Mary?
Mary, you're never that quiet.
Yeah.
Mary, what's your officer title?
Vice President.
Oh. Just be. Oh. And Mary, you've been at Theta for how long?
3 years?
Awesome. Have you been to 3 conventions?
Yes.
What was your favorite?
International.
Which one? Did you go to California? Awesome. Very cool. And who's next to you? Josh. Josh.
I've never been this quiet in my whole life.
Josh, if you were a flavor of ice cream, what flavor would you be?
Oh, yeah.
Waiting on you, Dad, or Josh.
Oh, I'm gonna remember this question.
I like strawberry, but it has to be like fresh strawberry ice cream.
Because you're kind of fresh.
Yeah.
Who knows what FTD means, by the way? What? I'm going to teach you something. Don't tell them. Don't tell them. It is a compliment if someone says that you're FTD. I did not know this.
Oh!